There's something confusing happening right now. You're putting in more hours, you're trying to stay disciplined, you're pushing yourself to just do more, and yet the results don't match the effort. You feel tired but not ahead, busy but not moving, productive but somehow stuck. And at some point, a quiet thought shows up. Why does this feel harder than it used to? This video isn't about motivation, it's about explaining why working harder stopped working and what actually works now. Let me say this clearly first. Hard work is not the problem. Effort, discipline, showing up still matter, but effort alone doesn't compound anymore. The world changed quietly, and most people are still using an old strategy in a new game. That's why it feels like you're running on a treadmill. Lots of movement, no real progress. Here's the shift most people never notice. A few years ago, working harder meant doing more tasks, being faster, being reliable, being the person who gets things done. That used to create value. But today, a lot of that work can be automated, duplicated, outsourced, or assisted by AI. So when you double your effort, you're often just doubling work that doesn't scale anymore. And that's the real frustration. Let me explain this in a very practical way. Imagine two people. They both work hard, they both care, they both use the same tools, but one of them keeps getting more opportunities, the other keeps getting more tasks. The difference isn't intelligence, it isn't talent, it isn't even speed. It's where their energy goes. One person spends most of their energy doing what's already defined, the other spends their energy deciding what should be done in the first place. That difference is everything. This is where most people get trapped. Most of us were rewarded for being helpful. So we say yes, we fill gaps, we take on extra work, we respond fast, we try to prove we are useful. But slowly, without noticing, we become very busy and very replaceable. Because when your value comes from execution alone, you're always one tool, one system, one automation away from being replaced. Not because you're bad, but because your role has no leverage. This is where thinking differently starts. I want to give you the simple habit, not a hack, not a mindset code, a real way to think differently during your day. Before starting a task, pause and ask, if I didn't do this exact task, would anything actually break? And let's be very clear about what break means. Not someone being slightly annoyed, not you feeling guilty, but would progress stop? Would a decision be delayed? Would money be affected? Would something important actually fall apart? If the honest answer is no, then that task isn't wrong. It just doesn't deserve your best energy. So what do you do with those tasks? You don't panic, you don't judge yourself, you simply choose one of these three options. Automate it, simplify it, or stop treating it like it's critical. Because your best energy is limited, and it should be protected for work that creates direction, reduces future effort, connects decisions, or remove bottlenecks for others. This is how people quietly move ahead, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently. This is what working smarter actually means. It doesn't mean doing less, it means doing less of the wrong things. It means slowly shifting your role from the person who does to the person who decides, designs, and guides. That shift doesn't require a promotion, it doesn't require permission, it starts with awareness. Let's talk about where real value comes from now. Today, value comes from judgment, clarity, context, taste, and prioritization. AI can generate options, but it can't decide what matters for this situation, for these people right now. That's still human territory. So the people who grow aren't the ones racing AI, they are the ones standing one level above it. If your entire day is filled with reacting, responding, executing, cleaning up small tasks, then no matter how hard you work, your income and impact will eventually hit a ceiling. Not because you're lazy, but because ceilings exist where leverage doesn't. This is the path forward, calmly. You don't need to change everything. You don't need a dramatic reinvention. Start small. Notice where your energy goes. Notice what actually moves things forward. Notice what just keeps you busy. Every time you choose judgment over execution, you move slightly upward, and over time, that compounds. Before we continue, a quick pause. If this way of thinking feels different, take a second to like this video. It helps more people find it, and it tells me to keep going deeper with this kind of content. Okay, back to it. One more important shift. Working harder doesn't work anymore because effort is no longer scarce. Clarity is. Most people are overwhelmed not because they lack time, but because everything feels equally important. Your advantage is learning to say this matters, this doesn't. This can't wait, this needs a decision. That skill alone makes you harder to replace than any tool. Let me leave you with this. Stop asking, how can I do more? Start asking, where does my thinking matter most? That's where growth is now. That's where income expands. That's where you stop feeling stuck. Not by pushing harder, but by stepping slightly higher. If this helped you see your work differently, sit with it. You don't need to act immediately. And when you're ready, we'll keep building this calmly, clearly together.